When Laura Park and I first met as little girls, she hated me because I was already very loud and proud about being an atheist. She made her feelings about me quite clear. God loves you, but if you won't return that love, He will send you to hell.
Look, you arrogant bitch, if you can't prove to me there even is a God, why should I fear Him sending me to hell? I'm not a coward, but you clearly are. And any God who would send to hell anyone for not worshipping Him is a narcissist.
What an incredible difference half a decade makes. We both changed. Me in appearance and her in attitude. And now we were in love.
Thank you for inviting me over tonight.
So, are you ready to start? I can take you to my bedroom as soon as you ask me.
Lead the way, Debbie. I can't believe only a couple of years ago we were enemies. I look back at myself then and I don't even recognize that ignorant girl anymore. I believed everything my parents and Reverend Owen taught me about atheists and about gays and lesbians, until I hit puberty and realized I was myself a lesbian. I couldn't understand how a loving God could curse me with the constant urge to make love with other girls while also forbidding me to do that. It was insane. I kept my true self hidden for so long that it made me depressed. When you came out as lesbian so quickly and you could do that because you had been raised an atheist, it tore me up inside.
So why were you still threatening to beat me up when I and Carrie began to stand up to Miss Jenkins trying to cram the Bible down our throats? That seems confusing.
The truth was, I wanted you to beat me up because I felt I deserved it. But you never fought with me. You just walked away every time I picked a fight with you. Ironically, you were a better person than me. And then Miss Jenkins changed. And then our whole church changed too after Reverend Owen was fired. And now for the first time in years, I am happy. I owe you my life, Debbie. I love you.
And with that, she and I stripped off our clothes and got in my bed. And all the past hurts, confusion, and conflicts melted away between us as we lay in each other's arms. We were at peace.
Laura Park and Debbie, having officially become a couple, now go on a date in public for the first time.
So how did your parents take your coming out?
They are split over the issue, literally. My father refused to accept the Baptist Church becoming Unitarian Universalist instead and left it, along with a dozen others who call the rest of us traitors. And of course, he doesn't accept me being lesbian. But when I told my mother about it, she hugged me and said, "Honey, I loved you before and I will love you forever." The next day she kicked my father out and filed for divorce.
I'm sorry, it seems some people are just too set in their ways and don't want to change because it is too painful for them to admit they were wrong.
Indeed, my father was himself the nephew of a Baptist minister and said he couldn't imagine everything his uncle preached not being true. But that's his problem. I just want him to love me again. Oh no.
Hello. Hey, Carrie, come join us.
And then a memory flashes in Laura's mind.
You think you can insult Almighty God and get away with it?
If there is no God, then no one was insulted. And if He is so almighty, why do you claim to speak for Him? Have you even seen God? See, you idiot, even your God cannot hurt me. You have to do it for Him. And I can hurt you right back.
Carrie? Did Debbie invite you here?
Yes, she did. She wants me to get to know the new version of you. She said you had changed. You seem afraid of me. Why?
Aren't you angry at me for stealing Debbie from you? And for beating you up in the school restroom?
No. Debbie is not a piece of property, and before she even hooked up with you, she told me about you. And I am okay with her loving you. And as for what happened 2 years ago, I'm over it. You are a better person now and I forgive you.
It seems everything I was ever told about atheists was wrong. You have a beautiful spirit, Carrie, just like Debbie does.
You know better now and therefore, you can be better. Let us all walk the path of enlightenment together.
So this is where you and Carrie both had your makeovers?
Yes. It's time you got a new outfit as well to represent the new you.
I agree. I love the way you look now.
Thanks for coming with me to see the new Spider-Man movie. And also thanks for buying me this t-shirt. It matches yours but in colors I like better. You are such a sweetheart, Jason.
My pleasure, but I hope you did not have any expectations out of this. I've never had a girlfriend before and this dating is all new to me.
Sure, we can go slowly and see how it feels. It seems they keep recycling old concepts and plots instead of being willing to try anything really new.
Yeah, people like to see what is familiar to them. But 100 years ago, characters like Spider-Man, Superman, Wonder Woman and other superheroes didn't exist. If people back then had been afraid to take risks, we wouldn't be watching Spider-Man now.
Jason, how far would you be willing to go with me? I have made love with Debbie only because she was available, but I always wanted to hook up with a boy too.
This is only our first date. Ask me that question on our 5th or 6th date. Can you wait?
Of course. I just wanted to ask to make sure of what we would both be comfortable with. Again, thanks for spending the evening with me. How did things go with Jason tonight? It was nice, but he is not nearly as affectionate with me as Debbie was. When I was with her, there were no limits to our intimacy. Jason seems a lot more fearful. You wish you were with Debbie again? It's not really that. I just wish I had someone who would hold me in his arms for hours and make me feel loved all over. Well, that's what mothers like me are for, Carrie. Thanks, Mother Lucy. I will go to my bed now. Why can't Debbie be with both girls? There is a concept called polyamory that might work for all three of them. That's a difficult concept for even adults to handle, let alone teenagers with their often unstable emotions. It's best they not risk it. Speaking of unstable, I got a letter from Barbara. Shall I open it? Sure. It seems she has joined yet another cult. She is a Baha'i now. What's wrong with Baha'i? I've read about it and it seems a lot less damaging than the Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe if I'd been raised a Baha'i, my life as a teen would not have been so terrible. It's still an Abrahamic religion just like Christianity and Islam are. And I wouldn't trust any religion that insists there is an unseen and unknowable God. Plus, she converted so quickly. She was a witness only a couple of months ago. Like you said, we can't save her. She has to find her way. If this Baha'i faith is the right path for her, we should just leave her to it. We can't tell her or anyone else what to believe or how to live.
As president of this church, I am happy to announce that we have invited a minister to come and submit herself for a possible ministry here. Her name is Reverend Emily Denton. She will give her first sermon today. Reverend Denton, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Drake. When I read about the history of this church, I was amazed at how it changed from Baptist to Unitarian Universalist. Most Christians wouldn't consider UUs to be part of their religious community. But I myself, while a lifelong UU, was always in love with the beauty of what Jesus taught and wished to keep this church Christian-centered, even while making room for people of other religious views including humanists, pagans, Jews, Buddhists, and others. For those who want to remain Christian, we can continue to have rituals like baptism and the Lord's Supper, but those who follow other paths may opt out of those rituals and instead observe their own among themselves.
So you are primarily Christian. Could I be the lay leader for the atheist or humanist you use in this church? That's what I was before when I and my friends and our daughters formed the original UU Fellowship 2 years ago.
Yes, I read about your works, Mrs. Sims. It is an honor to meet you, knowing what an incredible victory you scored for UAism here. And I have no objection to you being the leader of your own subdivision. You are certainly welcome to cooperate with me on giving your own sermons or special readings from the church pulpit.
I like her already. I can't wait to see her preach. As long as she doesn't tell any lies about the Bible or try to make excuses about the failings of Christians in the past. As a former Christian who got fed up with bigotry and hypocrisy among those I was raised with, I'll be watching. Reverend Denton.
Welcome, everyone, to our Unitarian Universalist Church. My sermon today is about prayer. There are two kinds of prayer, the prayer of faith and the prayer of form. Men must either pray in earnest, because they expect their prayer to accomplish something, and ask God for what they want just as they would ask anyone else, expecting to get it. And this kind of prayer I call the prayer of faith. Or they must pray as a matter of propriety, and from a sense of duty, because prayer is beautiful, or because prayer is commanded. And this kind of prayer I call the prayer of form. Now when people get to praying as a form, a proper, beautiful, excellent form though it be, they will soon leave off praying at all. A certain insincerity is felt in such a work. We cannot go on with it. To speak to God, and ask Him to give us this and that, when we all the time believe that we shall get it not a whit the sooner for asking, but merely shall put ourselves into a better frame of mind, is not sincere. It is not truthful, and honest men cannot do it, nor pretend to do it. Little children pray the prayer of faith. They ask God to give them toys and playthings, and they bring their little wants and notions up in their prayers very artlessly and honestly. We smile, and sigh that we cannot pray so too. By and by they grow too wise to continue the childish prayer, and, like us, leave off prayer wholly. Our ancestors prayed the prayer of faith. When the wind howled around their lowly huts, and the storm rushed darkly from the forests, when the fierce Pequot and the savage Philip with his wild tribes of Indians lurked in every shaded dell of this fair New England, when the crops failed and they were about to starve, then they wrestled with God in prayer. They labored as men labor in plowing a field, till in their agony of supplication they fainted. And when the help came, and the full-freighted ship sailed up the bay with its white sails spread wide like some broad-winged bird, then they believed most surely that God sent her in answer to their prayer, and no skeptic among them all asked concerning the time when she sailed from port. But sometime in the last century there arose wise men, disciples not of Plato nor of St. Paul, but of Lord Bacon, men who believed in science more than in inspiration. And they could not pray any longer the prayer of faith. They studied the laws of nature. They reasoned by induction from effect to cause. They were experimental philosophers. Bishop Berkeley called them in his Vexation Minute philosophers. But they were good Christian men, and had not the least intention of denying what was in the Bible. The Bible said, "Pray," and they said, "Pray." Moreover, they had learned to pray at their mother's knee, and felt the happiness of communing with God, and did not wish to leave off prayer. So they said, "Pray." Not that prayer will give you anything you could not have had without it. But it will do you good. It will give you submission to God's will, patience, devout habits, and so forth. Pray, by all means, for spiritual things. For God will give you those readily in answer to prayer. But above all, pray without ceasing. That is, be in a spirit of prayer always. Christ uses oriental figures of speech. He must not be taken too literally when he says, "Believe that ye shall receive it, and ye shall have it." God gives or withholds according to wise providential laws, and not according to our prayers. After this doctrine had been laid down, and the prayer of propriety or duty or sentiment had taken the place of the prayer of faith, men, as we said, ceased to pray. They could not continue using solemn words to which they attached no real importance. "No," said they, "to work is to pray. Do your duty. That is the effectual prayer of the righteous man. Visit the fatherless and widow in their affliction. Keep yourself unspotted from the world. That is true Christianity. Better than many Sabbath days full of worship. Better than knees stiffened by long hours of devotion. He that doth righteousness is righteous, not he who for a pretense makes long prayers. We live at present in an age saturated with these ideas. We live in an age turned wholly outward. An age of science, of steam, of rails, and of telegraphs. An age of cheap postage, and of all sorts of devices to make our outward life comfortable and joyous. Many run to and fro, and knowledge is increased. The Christianity of the world bears good fruit in attempts to mitigate the horrors of barbarous customs, which come down unmitigated and unrelieved through the ages of faith, slavery, and war, and popular ignorance, pauperism, intemperance, and manifold evils. Strong, wise, and good men do not now go on their knees and wrestle all night with God in prayer, but they sit up all night by their study table, and marshal hosts of facts into such shape as shall convince mankind what a mountain of ill they labor under, and how they shall throw them off. Good men of today, the saints of our day, do not dream dreams, see visions, commune with angels, they are caught up into no third, nor even second heaven. But they visit prisons and penitentiaries, they establish hospitals for the blind, deaf, lame, dumb, and insane, they labor to elevate public instruction, they struggle to make the laws more equitable. And for all these labors, let us be thankful to God, for in them is surely to be found the Christian seed. They are Christ-like works. I don't really like all the Christian references, but since this church was Christian before, I guess we can tolerate this. It's either this or the church members not only reject Reverend Denton, but this church's membership in the Unitarian Universalist Association. We told them they could remain Christian, so they would expect Christian-oriented topics like what we just heard. Debbie, you were at this church when Reverend Owen preached here. Did Reverend Denton sound like him? Nope. Owen came across as arrogant and holier than thou, like Christians had a duty to conquer all others. That sermon by Reverend Denton was much more thoughtful and honest. I actually learned something from it. I want her to stay with us.
Thank you, Reverend Denton. At this time, we will consult among ourselves and take a vote on whether you will be hired to serve as our minister.
Good evening, Miss Park. What can we get you?
Debbie and I want a large pepperoni pizza and 2 glasses of Coca-Cola.
Coming right up. And let me say how lovely you look tonight.
Yes, it was Debbie's idea. I love pink and I got a top that looks like Debbie's too. Now we are both more beautiful. Does your mother still practice law?
No, she quit it when she became a restaurant owner. But she does say being an advocate for human rights is her calling.
Could I speak with her, please?
Debbie said you needed my help?
Yes, my parents are getting divorced and my father just hired a Christian lawyer who wants to fight for traditional values. He doesn't want custody of me, I am dead to him, but he wants my 2 brothers in a family house. He is so full of hatred now that he scares me. Will you fight for my mother and me?
Yes, I will. This looks like a case I always wanted to take on. Can you give me a moment? Lucy, remember when I got the offer from Olive Garden to sell this restaurant? Well, I am rejecting that offer. But I also want to restart my legal career, so I think the solution is to promote you to manager. Instead of being a waitress, you will be in charge of operating the restaurant and I will come in once a week to review your work and sign the paychecks. Thank you. I knew you would do the right thing.
Congratulations, Lucy. Oh, here is the pizza for those 2 girls.
Thank you, and in my last act as waitress tonight, I will deliver the pizza to Debbie and Laura. And tell them the pizza and drinks are on the house.